April 19, 1995. It was a beautiful spring morning in Oklahoma City. Parents were dropping their kids off at daycare. Office workers were starting their day with coffee. Nobody could imagine that in just moments their lives would change forever. At 9:02 a.m., a massive truck bomb exploded outside the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building. The blast was so powerful it could be heard miles away. In an instant, 168 innocent people lost their lives. 19 of them were children. This is the story of the Oklahoma City bombing, the deadliest act of domestic terrorism in American history. It started like any ordinary Wednesday. The Murrah Building stood 9 stories tall in downtown Oklahoma City. Inside were offices for Social Security, the DEA, and the Secret Service. On the second floor was the America's Kids Daycare Center, filled with the children of federal employees. At 9:02 a.m., a yellow Ryder truck parked in front of the building. Inside that truck were 5,000 pounds of explosives, a homemade bomb made from fertilizer and fuel oil. The explosion ripped through the building like a hurricane. The entire north face collapsed. Concrete, glass, and steel rained down. Cars blocks away were flipped over. Windows shattered in buildings half a mile away. People working at their desks were suddenly buried under rubble. Parents rushed to find their children. The daycare center took a direct hit. Within minutes, sirens filled the air. Firefighters, police, and ordinary citizens rushed to help. What they found was unimaginable. A building torn in half, with people trapped inside crying for help. Rescue workers formed human chains, passing out survivors piece by piece through the wreckage. Doctors set up emergency treatment centers on the street. People lined up for blocks to donate blood. But time was running out. Every minute mattered. Rescue dogs searched through the debris. Workers dug with their bare hands, desperate to find survivors. The scene was chaos. Dust and smoke filled the air. Car alarms blared, and underneath it all, the sound of people calling out for help. By the end of the day, the horrible truth became clear. 168 people were dead, including 19 children. Over 680 others were injured. It was the worst terrorist attack on American soil at that time. Who could do something like this? That's what everyone wanted to know. The FBI launched the largest investigation in American history. They called it OK Bomb. Within 90 minutes of the blast, an Oklahoma state trooper pulled over a car for driving without license plates. The driver was Timothy McVeigh, a 27-year-old Army veteran. At first, it seemed like a routine traffic stop, but investigators soon connected the dots. McVeigh had rented the Ryder truck used in the bombing. Traces of explosives were found on his clothes. McVeigh wasn't working alone. His old Army buddy, Terry Nichols, had helped him build the bomb. Together, they'd spent months planning the attack. But why? What could drive someone to kill innocent people, including babies? Timothy McVeigh was angry at the federal government. He believed the government had become too powerful and was taking away people's freedoms. 2 years earlier, federal agents had raided a compound in Waco, Texas, where a religious group was living. That raid ended in a deadly fire that killed 76 people. McVeigh was furious about Waco. He chose April 19th for a reason. It was exactly 2 years after the Waco tragedy. McVeigh saw himself as a patriot, striking back against government tyranny. But he wasn't a patriot. He was a terrorist who murdered innocent Americans, including children who had nothing to do with his grievances. His victims weren't government agents making policy decisions. They were secretaries, retirees getting Social Security, and babies in a daycare center. The trial began in 1997. The evidence against McVeigh was overwhelming. Witnesses had seen him near the Murrah Building. The truck was traced back to him. He'd even been caught with anti-government writings. McVeigh showed no remorse. He called the children who died collateral damage. The jury deliberated for 3 days. On June 2, 1997, they found Timothy McVeigh guilty on all counts. He was sentenced to death. Terry Nichols was sentenced to life in prison without parole. On June 11, 2001, McVeigh was executed by lethal injection. His last words were a poem that ended with the line, "I am the master of my fate." But he wasn't a master. He was a murderer who destroyed countless lives. Today, where the Murrah Building once stood, there's a beautiful memorial. It sits on the exact footprint of the building. At the entrance, 2 bronze gates mark the moment before and after the bombing. 901 and 3. Between them is a reflecting pool, peaceful and still. But the most powerful part of the memorial are the 168 empty chairs. One for each victim. 19 of them are smaller, representing the children who died. At night, they're lit from below, glowing in the darkness. The memorial opened on the 5th anniversary of the bombing. Thousands gathered to remember. Families read the names of the dead. Tears were shed. But there was also strength and unity. The people of Oklahoma City had shown the world what American resilience looks like. Neighbors helped neighbors. Strangers became heroes. The city refused to be broken. There's an inscription at the memorial that reads, "We come here to remember those who were killed, those who survived, and those changed forever. May all who leave here know the impact of violence. May this memorial offer comfort, strength, peace, hope, and serenity." The Oklahoma City bombing was a wake-up call for America. It showed us that terrorism doesn't always come from overseas. Sometimes the threat comes from within, from our own citizens consumed by hatred and twisted ideology. But it also showed us something else. It showed us the best of humanity. The firefighters who risked their lives searching for survivors. The nurses who worked around the clock. The ordinary people who donated blood, brought food, and opened their homes. 168 lives were stolen that day. Children who never grew up. Parents who never came home. But their memory lives on. Not just in the memorial, but in the way we came together as a nation. The Oklahoma City bombing reminds us that freedom comes with responsibility, that our words and actions matter, and that in our darkest moments the human spirit can shine brightest. We remember, we honor, and we never forget.